When Nintendo recently revealed that the original F-Zero game would be revived as F-Zero 99, I was really surprised. There honestly wasn't really any indication this was going to happen at all, so I was totally floored when I first heard that classic music play during the announcement. But yep, to my glee, this is the original F-Zero in a new era, remastered and made into a battle royale game, with the same graphical assets, visual style, and remastered music. And I honestly really struggle to think of another remastered classic that Nintendo could have unveiled that would have spoken to me more. And that's because I packed so much time into the original F-Zero game way back when it was released in 1991, and I have super fond memories of it. I've reviewed that one for the channel, and it's probably my favorite racing game of all time, and I'm not even a big fan of the genre, so that's saying something. And what shocked me even more about F-Zero 99 was that Nintendo was planning to make the game available the same day they announced it. So I downloaded the game, gave it a go, and here we are. In this video, I'm going to give you all my impressions of it after having played about 10 hours and experiencing all of the game's different modes. Before I get into that though, please like this video and subscribe to my channel for more retro gaming content. When it comes to the basics, F-Zero 99 really nailed it. It captivated me in so many ways, beginning with the game's main mode, and that's the 99-player Battle Royale. That's what we're all here for. And in my mind, it's definitely the most fun part of this monstrosity. Instead of tweaking F-Zero in a way that would make old school fans mad, Nintendo took what worked way back in the day and just expanded upon it in several major ways. And the first one I just have to talk about is the graphics. So just to be able to play this game in an HD widescreen view looks so great. I can't express that enough actually. The graphics are bright and beautiful, and it still replicates the Mode 7 feel from the SNES well. In a way, it actually seems surreal playing it because I was expecting SNES era slowdown or something given the immense number of racers on the screen. But of course there isn't any of that. It's super smooth and everything's animated perfectly. And man, is the visual style just fun. That's the only word for it. It brings you back 32 years into the past when you first get into your race. And I just love how the camera pans to show you the number of racers that begin with you at the starting line. Just look at it here in big blue. This looks sweet. That first 30 seconds of any race has to be the most fun and most hectic part. You just see a barrage of cars flying off in front of you, skidding around, and trying to get into the lead. I was always a big fan of the green car called the Wild Goose from the original game, so I definitely played my fair share with him, but I did play with all the other cars as well. I especially liked how you can customize and tweak the colors to your liking without changing the actual sprites themselves. It preserved the old school feel that way. To really make this into a true battle royale game, Nintendo did add a few mechanics that weren't featured in the original F-Zero, and I honestly thought all of them added to the fun and enjoyment of it all. In F-Zero 99, you still have that classic energy gauge that gets depleted when you run into walls and enemies. And it can be refilled in the special energy zone at the beginning of each track. That's the same. However, in this one you can use your energy meter as a speed boost at selective times. This is your way to speed by certain areas in opportunistic fashion. I saved most of my boosts until the end of laps so I could just jump out in front of the other cars on the way to the finish line, and that mostly worked for me, but doing it that way makes it so that you have to get into the energy refill zone afterwards, and that area can get pretty crazy. And that's because it gets congested with all the other cars trying to do the same thing on a new lap, and it produces refill wars. And that was actually pretty fun. The biggest new mechanic comes in the form of these little yellow balls that are emitted by cars whenever they're hit by other cars. Those are called super sparks, and picking them up allows you to grow your spark meter. When it gets to full, your car is elevated to the second tier level of the racetrack called the Skyway, and that allows you to gain speed boosts, bypass all the most difficult obstacles of the track, and avoid huge masses of other cars. Another addition is a button that allows your car to spin around fiercely, which can be used to slam into other cars and actually do damage to them. Doing this when they're low can actually make them explode for a KO, which completely ends their race. Talk about a buzzkill for them. This was really fun. The spin does have a short cooldown though, and the spin meter is displayed directly beneath your spark meter. Also, there are specific enemy cars as well as the other players. Some of them are white in color and normal size and just kind of act as roadblocks, but see those big golden ones? You can use your spin to slam into them and collect the stream of super sparks that shoot out from them. It isn't worth going out of your way and slowing down to encounter them, but if you manage to time it correctly, this can really help you as well. Racers that fall behind in the Battle Royale mode are automatically eliminated along the way, and your obvious goal is to outlast and fly by the other cars to get number 1 in the race. The game's actually not that easy though. There's a progression of mastery of sorts you have to go through. You're going to be a lot better at F-Zero 99 if you're able to collect more super sparks, time your speed boosts right, and destroy enemy cars. I was never able to squeak out a victory as car number 1, but I imagine if I did, it would have been a pretty good feeling. This is a very competitive game. There's also a Grand Prix mode that sends you into a series of 5 consecutive races. In this mode, the tracks get tougher and tougher as you go along, just like in the original F-Zero, and these are scheduled only to be available at certain times. It's a good way to compete in a slightly different style as the Battle Royale mode, but it also takes away a lot of the fun of that chaotic style. Mini Prix mode is basically the same thing as Grand Prix, but with 3 races instead of 5. In the team battle mode, the 99 racers are split into 2 different teams, the green team and the pink team, and all racers vote on the track at the start. In this style, both teams accumulate points based on the performance of the individual cars on their teams, and the team with the most points wins at the end. There are 4 factors that gain you more points: spin hits, KOs, bumper hits, and lap points. You even get to see a pretty nifty breakdown at the end where one team is crowned champion of that team battle. Besides the Battle Royale mode, this was my favorite. Practice mode is just a tutorial of sorts that shows you how to race and use the game's new mechanics, so it's definitely worth trying if you aren't comfortable diving right into a race. And finally, the workshop allows you to view your record, change basic visual settings, and customize your cars in various ways. You can alter the colors, decals, and boosts here, but you don't have to spend much time doing that if you don't want to. And that's because the 4 classic cars of F-Zero are still here in every single way you remember them. When it comes to the sound, it seems like they revived all the music on the original F-Zero soundtrack and just touched it up a little bit. The songs are the same, they just sound better. They weren't reorchestrated or anything like that. So if any of you are worried about what that could mean, don't be, because it definitely has the same old school vibe that meshes well with the flavor of the old school graphics, cars, and tracks. And yes, Mute City is still my personal favorite. F-Zero 99 might not be everything F-Zero fanatics were looking for because it isn't a new game per se. But man, does it bring back that 1991 retro nostalgia right back into my living room. It really was the right game for me at the right time, and I can't be more pleased with the result. Thank you, Nintendo, for doing this. The music and graphics perfectly captured the essence of the original, the Battle Royale mode was super well done, and the new interface is clean and polished. The only real disappointment about this in my mind is there isn't an online mode that lets you play with a designated friend, because everything's just randomly matched instead. I really hope they add this feature eventually, because just the idea of having several friends playing this at the same time is super appealing, and frankly, I'm a bit surprised the game was released without it. Other than that though, I'm extremely pleased with F-Zero 99. In fact, I can't think of another game that's resurrected great retro gaming memories for me than this one. F-Zero 99 definitely doesn't reinvent the wheel, but that's a good thing. Instead, it successfully adapts F-Zero into a modern multiplayer experience that I plan to pick up and play casually for a long time. It's just great for what it is. The cool thing about all this too is that it shows Nintendo is giving the F-Zero series more attention, which may drive them to create an actual F-Zero sequel. If they actually do this, I doubt it will be in a Battle Royale style, but if this game becomes popular, it may just guarantee the release of a new F-Zero game. I guess we'll all just have to wait and find out in the coming years. So what do you think about F-Zero 99? If you played it, what do you like most about it? Let me know in a comment below. Please like, subscribe, and click that bell for more retro gaming content. I want to give a big shout out to my Patreon patrons and YouTube members. I really appreciate your support. And if you want early access to the videos I produce and other perks like they receive, please consider supporting the channel by becoming a Patreon patron or via the YouTube Join feature.